Hey, hi everyone. This is Vishal Bhoir. Now, today we will see cell theory, which describes the cell as a fundamental unit of life. So, in the cell theory, two scientists, T.S. Schwann and then M.J. Schleiden, for the very first time in 1839, these two cell biologists recognized cell as a basic fundamental unit of life. So, then came the third scientist, Rudolf Virchow. In 1855, Virchow stated that cells arise only from the pre-existing cells. So the combined work of Schleiden, Schwann and Virchow was put forth in the form of cell theory. So let us say the main important points of cell theory. Now we will see the postulates of cell theory. Now cell theory states that the very first point, that all living organisms are made up of cells. In the next point, the cell, it describes the cell as a basic structural and functional unit of all the living organisms present on earth. Then in the third postulate, cell theory states that cell contain genetic information which is passed on from one cell to another cell during the cell division, that is from one generation of the cell to the next generation of the cell. You can see in the diagram, this is our cell. It grows. As it grows, the inner nucleus, which is having a genetic material, it is duplicated, it is doubled, and then it is distributed in this manner during the cell division. Two new cells form from the pre-existing cell, and see how the genetic material is distributed to each of the cell, and we got from a pre-existing cells, we got two new cells formed. Then the next postulate tells us that cells, all the cells are similar in their chemical composition and in their metabolic activity. Like for example, all the cells metabolize glucose for their energy needs. Then the next postulate tells us that all cells arise from the pre-existing cells. This particular thing that we have just seen in the diagram. Now there are few exceptions to the cell theory. The first one is obviously the viruses. The viral structure, as you can see, it is very simple. The viral structure is consisting only of a genetic material, as you can see, which is covered with capsid, a protein layer and an envelope. So when we compare this structure with our cell structure, that virus do not have the cellular organization. As you can compare this two cell, where you are observing the first, that is our virus, which is having a very basic simple structure, and when we compare with the cellular structure on the right hand side, we can see this how the cell, the living cell, is very complicated one, having many different organelles and different structures inside. When we compare it with the viruses, viruses have only very simple structure. They do have a genetic material and a covering made up of a protein molecule. So in this way, viruses somehow are the exception to the cell theory, that they have a very basic cellular structure. Then the next exception is of the bacteria and the blue-green algae. As you can see, the bacteria is again, and all the blue-green algae they are again having a very basic cellular structure. They do not possess the true cellular structures. That's why as they are having an exception over here. When you compare a prokaryotic cell, which is a bacterial cell, to the eukaryotic one, you can see the difference. The eukaryotic cell is having a very complicated structure, complex one, where the most of the different organelles are present in addition to the nucleus. Where over here, as you can see in the prokaryotic cell, we don't even find the nucleus inside. Rest of the organelles, even we are finding that many of the organelles that we have seen in eukaryotic cell, it is not there in the prokaryotic cell. that is in case of bacteria. So in this way, so they have a very basic cellular structure as compared to the eukaryotic one. So they are the exceptions. Then there are fungi, the third one, that is fungi like mucor and rhizopus as well as some algae. They show the exception to this cellular theory, that they somehow, most of the fungi show their arrangement as a multinucleated one. So this is actually against the cell theory, which states that cell has a primary, it has only one nucleus and all the cytoplasm consisting of cell organelles. So over here we are finding that the fungi are having multinucleate, they are all multinucleated ones. So they are having the exception, they are showing the exception to the cell theory. So in this way, cells theory describes the cell as the fundamental unit of life. So thank you very much. Bye bye.